Welcome to Fantastic Females, our adventure to finding the mythical island of freedom together. I'm Kalyani.
And I'm Rupali. We are your next door finance experts sharing our experiences in the world of money and energetics. Hi everyone, welcome back. Today we are going to be talking about Black Friday sales. How appropriate, right?
Yeah, they're all around us, and this episode is releasing just after the Black Weekend, I suppose. And it's been pretty stressful, I have to say. I was trying to explain it to my mum, for example, and this happened to me last year as well, that we became really busy end of November, and she was like, what are you so busy with? And I said, oh, but looking at all these details and making sure the orders go through, having the right coupon codes, etc., etc. And when I thought about it, it just sounded so stupid in my head. And yeah, we'll dive into that feeling and what we think of the Black Friday sales. And we'd love to hear back from you as well through comments, through feedback on our social media. So yeah, let's dive in.
Yeah, I think let's start with, what you and I individually have been experiencing, because we were discussing it earlier as part of our catch up, and we kind of realized it's quite different, yet it's all the same in terms of our approach towards these sales and how that all plays out. So from my perspective, this time round, I feel like I'm so done with just buying things, looking at things, whether it's courses, whether it's physical items, clothes, house stuff, anything. I'm just done with it. And so if I'm on social media and I come across 70% off, I just tell myself no, and I pass it. Or I end up on their page and I say no, and I close the link, because I really don't need anything. I think I'm at that point where, cheaper prices don't necessarily appeal to me to make a decision and buy something that I don't really want, because it's not really on sale if you're spending more money than you would have otherwise, right? So whether something's at a 50% discount, it's still 50% more than what you would be paying, because you wouldn't have bought it otherwise.
Yeah, absolutely. I wish I was in the same space as you, but I find myself pretty gullible to all the amazing marketing that these people do. So we'll kind of break all of this down into the hodgepodge that it creates in our minds, and how difficult it can be, how draining it can sometimes be to go through this period. And also there's an aspect of cash flow as well, right? Like on a very practical basis. It's not very realistic to be able to buy everything that you want at the same time while we still have our monthly expenses going out. So I find that a bit challenging to manage as well. So
yeah, I agree. I think there's nothing wrong in taking advantage. Let's say I've wanted like a new laptop or a new phone or anything that, for that matter. And I've wanted it for a while, and I do my research and, oh great, there's a great deal, let me buy it. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But I think the emotion it kind of creates within us, what we were discussing earlier, the one word that Black Friday everything leads to is scarcity.
Exactly.
Right? Whether that's scarcity of time, like you mentioned earlier, scarcity of money. It almost creates a sense of like desperation.
Exactly. And like you said, so let's break this down further, and we can share some personal examples as well, Rupali. If not from this year, you can share some examples from before. So the first one is scarcity of having that item or the course, right? And this is the very basic thing that people are playing with. In terms of courses, this course is supposed to be the life-changing course that you've been waiting for. In terms of items, this is the one item that's going to make your life easier. So there's a lot of emphasis put on that. And there are products that I have to say have added to my life. So I bought an air fryer as a part of this sale. It was only about 30 dirhams cheaper than it would normally be. The product actually has added to my life. So there is some value in that. But a lot of it is very overlapping. For example, many of the courses we've got access to already and we haven't made the most of it, but they keep selling new courses. So the first scarcity is of having the item, whether it's tangible or intangible itself, right?
Yeah, I mean, these adverts, create this urgency in terms of you have to have this, you must, have it. And so sometimes without thinking, wait a second, do I really need this? What do I need it for? We sometimes blindly go in and just buy whatever it is that they've created the urgency for. I mean, they're not wrong for doing it because maybe there are people that need it.
Yeah, so what I did this time before, around the start of November, was I made a want and a need list. I remember speaking to you, Rupali, more informally about this as well. And there were very few things that went on my needs list per se, but my laptop, for example, has been acting up time to time. And I went into this whole spiral of looking at different options, and I was putting so much pressure on myself for making a decision during this time because of the sales. Whereas the difference between the sale price and the full price wasn't actually so much. And this is a recurring theme that we'll keep coming back to during the episode. And the wants list were things like I wanted a fragrance that makes me feel abundant and it makes me feel certain emotions that I like feeling. And I haven't bought it for a long time. It's not, it's not discounted. So it is on my wants list and it is something that I'll reward myself with. But you have to take a step back. I took a step back to kind of be mindful that it is not time based and I've got access to it anytime I want, right?
Yeah, I think the scarcity, the urgency it creates, the idea is not so much whether sales are bad, whether sales are good. I think it's just the impact of it on our lives. So if it's detracting so much time, energy, patience, it's just causing stress in your life. You may be a little bit more short towards other people because you're so into it and you have this urgency of time where you're like, no, let me just get this done. But hello, like, just get out of your laptop or your phone, and do you really need it? Do you really need to be in a stampede of people outside the shops? Most likely not.
No. So this is the second aspect of scarcity, which is time. I think sales have a big impact on our time. The cost of search used to be a concept that we used to learn in economics, and there is unlimited amount of search that you can do theoretically, right? You can keep going from shop to shop to shop to shop. And this used to come in the context of competing businesses having shops next to each other. So, sometimes there'll be petrol stations next to each other or stationery shops next to each other. In wholesale markets, you'll have a whole street dedicated to one type of product. And I would question as a young student how they all survive. And the phenomenon that it comes down to is that there is a search cost, right? A consumer can't carry on searching beyond a certain level of patience, I suppose. Cost of the time that they spend on the search is not equal to the value that they might save. It's not even a guaranteed saving of value. So for me, as time has gone and in my life, time itself has become really important. This is a big factor. Like, I would rather buy less at full price than go through a heap of clothes to find the best deals that fit me, for example, in terms of clothes.
Yeah, to add to that, just sort of an example. I mean, between my husband and I used to be the one that be like, okay, there's a sale, why not? Let's go. But for him, like, we'd go and I'd tell him that, oh, you wanted a pair of shoes, you wanted whatever it is, let's take a look. And he'll be like, oh, I don't really feel like it. And then literally the day or two after the sales end, he'll tell me, right, now I want the shoes, let's go. And I'd lose it because I just would not understand. But I think now I get it, that maybe where it came from is the cost of the time and the energy that goes into shopping during a sale versus just going in, strolling into a shop when it's not that busy, picking up what you want, getting great customer service, and leaving happy. I think that's kind of highlights the cost of your time and energy.
Exactly. And it also takes me to the third type of scarcity that we've listed or that we've noticed, which is the emotional scarcity around this whole thing, right? And that could come from wanting to have a good experience around shopping. For a lot of us, shopping is an experience that we want to enjoy. And that's why physical malls continue to exist despite e-commerce growing so much in the last few years. But sales definitely rob us of that experience. And apart from that, I think a lot of the mentality is around getting a good deal, and then as a converse, it makes you feel like you can't afford it at full price, right? And or you don't see the value of the item or the service at full price. None of which are good places to be mentally.
Yeah, to add on to that, it's also about worthiness, right? So maybe you feel like you're not worthy of, when I'm having hesitance of spending some full price on something, then I could link it back to, whether I feel I'm worthy of having an item for which I pay the full price. So these are very it's the softer side of things, it's the energetic side of things, but this is what drives our lives and how we live them.
Yeah, totally. In financial coaching as well, a big aspect of what you receive or what your money reality is comes from how you actually are able to spend it. Everyone enjoys receiving money to a large extent, but how you're able to spend it, how you're able to pay your bills, how you're able to buy things that make you feel good in reasonable measures, of course, really kind of leads into how your relationship is with money. And that's a whole different thing that we just wanted to touch upon in terms of sales and how we've felt over the last week. It's not even the last week, Rupali. I feel like it started with the 1st of November.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
It's become longer and longer in the last few years. Do you remember growing up with Black Friday?
No.
No, me neither. And I think it was a more American concept around the Thanksgiving weekend and last Friday of November being the last kind of payday time before Christmas arrives. And so a lot of people wanted to make sure that they get all their shopping done. Most people have now forgotten about this whole idea. And I saw some advertising around, last minute Christmas shopping, let's get it done, let's get it ticked off. And I'm thinking, last minute, this is like a month in advance, and people are already so tightly wound in their lives. And isn't this just adding more and more pressure to it?
Exactly. I mean, when you look at malls today, Christmas lights are up like 2 weeks ago, or like starting the beginning of November, like you said. And while it's great because it's such a nice, merry, festive time of the year, it's really nice to see that. But the idea behind these lights is not for you to enjoy the lights as much. It's more for you to kind of become mindful. Christmas is around the corner. Let's get shopping, and it's to get you shopping more.
Yeah, and let's kind of talk a little bit more about this discount mentality. So I used to work in the business of retail previously, and a lot of our discussions were around the sale calendar not being as fixed in this region as it would be in the US or in Europe. And that was slowly kind of diluting the value of the premium shopping destination that Dubai wants to be, for example, or other cities in the region might aspire to. But alternatively, they were not able to attract any consumers into the shops without having a sale sign up. So everyone's become so used to having a discount that they don't want to pay full price. They'd rather wear something that's 2-3 months older because they just know they're so reassured in the fact that there's going to be a sale. That it's quite it impacts the brands, and then they're smarter, right? Like they'll just start with a 30% higher price so that they still carry on making profits with their sale prices 2-3 months onwards.
Exactly. I mean, the fact that you get value and all of that is great, but have you ever thought of the fact that the prices you're being told are discounted may not even be discounted? So there was a study that I read about online where it says 86% of the items that had been on sale, in inverted commas, during Black Friday were actually at the same price, or even cheaper up to 6 months before Black Friday. So are you really getting your money's worth when you're thinking you're kind of getting a discounted price, or is it just the psychological effect of seeing these big red signs everywhere?
Yeah, and as a service provider, some of you might be business owners or service providers. Even if you're working as an employee, you are pretty much providing a service to the company that you work for, right? And if you think in those terms, the buyer, whether it's a company that's buying your services in exchange for a salary or your clients, if they asked you for a discount, when I was kind of getting into business, I had a lot of hang-ups about saying no to customers. And I was taught then that if someone asks for a discount, you should be able to say, or at least think, that if you want a discount on my services, then do you want my discounted energy? Do you want my discounted time? If you want a 50% discount, then I'll give you half my time, half my knowledge, half my energy, and will that work out for you as a bargain? More often than not, that will not be an efficient exchange, and that just means that the buyer or the client is not in the right space to hire you, or is not in the right space to commit. So if your employer would turn around and say, I want a discounted price on your services while I want the full service, how would you feel?
Yeah, and I've been reading a book called Influence recently, and they really highlight a few factors that influence people. And so, given that we're constantly bombarded with information, we do have a limited capacity to process information, and we do have some kind of urgency in terms of making decisions, right? So one of the factors that they did speak about is the fact that the higher the price of an item, the more value we perceive that it has. So, which is the opposite of the sale mentality. So, for example, the example they gave was, today, if you're going to buy a gift for a loved one, then you may be hesitant to buy a discounted one. And if they sold the same thing to you at double the price, you'd think you bought double the value for someone you love. And so that plays a role into all of it too. And so going back to your discussion around courses, Kalyani, what I was thinking also is, when you're buying something given its cheap price, you're probably not going to be as committed to your process. So if you're paying the full price, whatever it is, right? I mean, obviously we have real situations in the world, we have our income situation, all of that. Having said that, if you're paying the full price for a course, you're more likely more serious about it, and that's probably the type of client you do want, because you want someone that's genuinely in it for the journey, not so much, oh great, I got this deal and now I've got this course, but I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it.
100%. How many free challenges are we signed up to already on our Facebook groups, on Instagram, on our emails, that we've never even started? So there is already so much available to us for free, but we don't take it seriously until we've had that exchange of value. I think this whole sale mentality comes also through generations, right? We were just talking about how our parents would think about sales. They were in a different space in terms of the generational trauma that they were going through, especially as brown parents in that time. If they were migrants, then there was a whole different struggle that they saw. And for me, especially till now, if we buy any gifts for our parents, mine or my husband's, we actually have to qualify it by saying that we bought it on sale. So it's actually the opposite of what you just said. They would not appreciate if it was really expensive. They would feel a pressure for accepting an expensive gift. Whereas if it was bought in a sale, then it's acceptable.
Yeah, I think exactly. So I had the same situation with my parents, more my mom, and it's interesting because then she doesn't know she's in the 21st century when it comes back to prices, right? Where we do have inflation and where we do have all of this. But that's just their default mentality. So what you mentioned around them receiving versus us giving, I feel like when I give something and I spend more money, I'm like, oh, I've got such a nice gift. This is all my love that I'm showing, blah, blah, blah. And for them, it's like, oh no, she's paid this much. And so it goes both ways.
Yeah, and I think I would like to end our discussion with my personal example of how naive and gullible I have been to this whole kind of slew of marketing being thrown at us. So there's a course in terms of energetics that I've been eyeing, and it's a hypnosis technique that's had a big impact on me, and it's something that I want to build into my practice of financial coaching in future as well. That course is through a mentor that I've previously worked with, and I anyway have a 25% discount code on that, which is not time specific. But the institute that's offering the course, it has a special Black Friday only discount code that ends on Sunday night, which was very tempting. But it's only 5% more than the discount code that I have access to throughout the year. And the Institute Black Friday code is only available for their sessions in Jan and Feb, whereas I know for a fact that with my commitments, I am pretty busy with everything that I have going on already until at least about March or April time. It took me a long time to clock that the difference between the two values, the discount values, was only 5%, and there was no need of forcing this into my life right now because I was getting a 30% discount, which just sounds so good on paper. I think I only opened my eyes to it yesterday night randomly.
Yeah, I think this is the real impact, right? So today we're aware, you and I are fully aware of what these sales do to us, and yet we fall for the trap. Yeah, I think to bring it back to just, I think mindfulness and, your personal practice of meditation or whatever it is, I think these practices play a huge role. So at any point in time when you're really overwhelmed with so much happening around us, with life in general, I mean, COVID showed us this too with overwhelm, but just generally, I mean, it goes back to our practice. And are you able to detach from all this noise? Are you able to cut through the noise and be like, no, this is what I want, this is what I need, and that's it. I don't care. You can give it to me for free. I do not want it.
This is huge. And this also ties into the market, which is what we wanted to end with. So it feels like the market has been on sale the whole year, Rupali.
Exactly. And the sales is not ending.
No. And it has two aspects to it, right? If you are already a stock owner, which makes you a business owner in part, then you might have seen some losses, hopefully unrealized, but they could also be realized losses where you saw a negative impact on your account. And this comes as a part of being a business owner, right? You go into it knowing that you might have losses. So that's something that needs the right mindset to be able to see this for a long marathon it is instead of a sprint, and have the vision to keep your conviction in the companies and hold on to your stocks if they are in valued companies, in fundamentally good businesses. And the other side of it is, if you want to enter the market, then it is probably a great time to enter. But then there should be no anxiety of getting the maximum discount, There should be no anxiety about timing the bottom. Will it go down further? No one knows. If they say they know, they are blagging. So you can have the right mindset about, I'm getting a good price, and whatever happens after this in the short run doesn't matter to me. In the long run, I know this is going to be profitable. In the short run, if it goes 10% down further, it's not going to matter. And this is where, as you said, mindset really plays a part as well.
Yeah, and this is where I'd like to again highlight, I mean, having a financial coach, that's what, you're kept on track along these things. So where you get stuck in your head, overwhelmed, there's so much noise in the markets, having a financial coach is someone to guide you, Kalyani, like yourself, it really makes a difference, because when it comes to the crunch of things, you do have that third perspective to kind of bring you back and say, okay, wait a second, do I really need to panic, or can I just ride this?
Exactly. So I'm a financial coach over at Trading Mum. You can follow me on my social accounts, and I've got a super exciting course that's come out last week called the Investing Starter Course, which sets you up from having zero knowledge in finance to having an active investment account that you can confidently manage yourself. I would also like to segue into something that we haven't spoken about, which is Rupali is an investor in a wellness studio called Prana House based in Motor City. And they do a lot around mindset, whether it's with movement of the body, so yoga, Pilates classes, or with pure energetics. It's done in different capacities as individuals, in group sessions, etc. And it's truly a space that looks to give back to the community. So please check them out on social media and at their physical location.
The reason why I had invested in Prana House is because it encourages people to kind of think about their mental and physical wellness. We've got so much overwhelm in our lives. I've lived in, survival mode for the longest time. And so through my personal growth journey, I've realized that there is a need to commit to your own personal growth, and so as part of that, that's completely in alignment with that. Bringing it back to markets just for a second again, it's that markets are cheap. It's an excellent opportunity if you're keen to invest. That does not mean every stock out there is cheap and is value. It may be cheap, it may not be value, because like the sale of goods, if you're buying something that's worthless for a cheap price, it still remains worthless. So that goes for stocks too.
Absolutely. So, hope you enjoyed this episode. We were sharing a lot of our personal opinions and personal examples. We'd love to hear back from you and hope you've had an easy Black Friday week.
So with that, we bring this episode of our financial adventure to an end. Please follow us on all social media platforms at Fantastic Females.
None of the information provided is financial advice, and Fantastic Females is not a financial advisor.
The information provided is educational only. It is general in nature and does not take into account your personal circumstances.
Please use your own due diligence before making any financial or investment decisions.